Hello, my online typography class. I'm about to open up the first unit for this week, and so I wanted to step you through what to expect for this project and when I want you to turn in everything. As I mentioned in my previous video, you've got a set of unit notes and a set of lectures that you can follow along to address these notes. The whole purpose of these unit notes is so that you can take the quiz by Friday. Remember, when you take this quiz, you've got a 2-hour time limit. So if you start it, make sure you can finish it within that 2 hours. And again, these quizzes aren't necessarily meant to be very difficult. All of the questions can be answered through the notes, and most people can finish them up within 30 minutes, so that shouldn't be too long. However, if there's any problems or issues with this quiz, especially if there's an answer that doesn't make any sense, please let me know. Don't leave it blank. Go ahead and submit it, and then I'll go back and I'll review it afterward. But you've got till Friday to be able to take this quiz before it closes out, and there's no way to make up these quizzes unless you've got some extenuating circumstances. Let's jump in and have a look at the project. First off, you can download the PDF for this unit project, and it looks something like this. I'm going to open mine up in Google Docs just so we can see it a little bit larger. For the next couple of weeks, you're going to be creating your own typeface. Now, this is going to last several weeks, and so we're going to pace ourselves out over what I'm expecting you to turn in. We're going to be covering different things like type anatomy, some terminology, and even its readability. And so your task is to develop a full set of letters and numbers. Now, this isn't going to be a fully functional font, meaning that you can't type this out on your keyboard. Instead, I want you to consider this kind of font to be a decorative set that can be used for special purposes. You're only going to be responsible for designing the uppercase letters, A through Z, lowercase letters, A through Z, and also the numbers, 0 through 9. Note that you don't have to do any special characters and you don't have to do any kind of symbols or glyphs in this. However, if you do want to do that, you're certainly welcome to add that to your project, but it's not something that I'm looking for. This right here is plenty of fonts and letters and numbers just for this one project. Now, there's 2 rules that you're going to follow when you make your design choice for this project. First off, your design needs to be made completely from scratch. I don't want your typeface to be used from or influenced by a previous design, so it needs to be completely original. I don't want you to take an existing font and simply tweak it or add on to it or make any changes from an existing design. I want yours to be completely original. The second thing, and this is probably the most important, I want you to define your own style for what your entire font should look like. Each letter needs to have a consistent look and feel to their design. You can use grids, you can use shapes, you can use other styles and other period influences. You can even use different media to make your different, each character for your typeface. But they should all fit within the same family and have the same look and feel. Also, think about giving your font a name and how that name can affect the overall design for your typeface. Now, here's the timeline that we're going to follow. We're going to be working through this project for the next 3 or 4 weeks. By the end of this week, on March 11th, I want you to submit your style ideas. I'm going to have a forum opened up on our Moodle page where you can post your ideas, post your styles, talk about what you want to do for your font. And so by this Friday, you need to have an idea of what you want to do for your letter forms. When you post it to the Moodle forum, I'll be able to give you feedback, and I'll also request that you give feedback from your other peers as well. Be able to tell how you want to form each of your letters and what their styles or their shapes can be. And later on, I'm going to show you some examples of what I mean by different styles and what's appropriate, maybe what's not appropriate. By March 25th, by then you should have started on working on each of the design, and you should be able to submit some rough drafts for any letters that you've created. Specifically, I want to see some progress shown on A through Z, either capital or lowercase. You don't have to be finished by March 25th, but submitting a rough draft will give me an idea of how each of your letters should look, and if there's any problems or issues, I'll be able to address them before you submit your final design. This entire project is going to be due by April 1st. By that time, all of your designs need to be completed, the complete set of letters and numbers. Now here's how I want you to set up your design. You can create your typeface using any media that you're comfortable with. This can be digital, so you can use a vector-based program like Adobe Illustrator, or it can be rasterized. You can use Photoshop to create your designs. Or if you really want to challenge yourself, I'll let you use a traditional media like drawing, photographs, collage. There's lots of different ways that you can create your fonts. So either using digital or traditional media is what you can design each letter with. The final designs are going to be submitted to me using a PDF. So whatever you use, it needs to be digitized in the end. And here's how I want you to set up your PDF. The first page needs to show me your font being used to give me the name of your font. So in other words, use all of your letters to spell out the name of your font and let that be the first page of your PDF. The second page needs to show me using your font to display the sentence, "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog." This sentence will allow me to see all of your letters being used in action. And so I want just that one sentence on a page by itself for the second page of your PDF. Finally, showcase each of your letters and numbers individually on their own separate pages. So this should give you 64 pages total. The first one giving me your font name, the second page giving me the display sentence, and then every page thereafter showing me an individual letter and a number. And again, save it up as a PDF to submit to the Moodle page. If you go back to the Moodle page, right now I'm going to turn off where you can turn in your type design. So you won't be able to see this until the week of March the 11th. Oh, excuse me, is it March the 11th whenever it's going to be due? April the 1st. However, I will have the Type Design Project Forum opened. And on this forum is where you can submit a new discussion topic telling me about your progress and showing me your ideas and getting and receiving feedback from your other classmates as well. So let's have a look at some different type examples that I've found online to give you an idea of the directions that you can take. First off, let me show you some examples of some bad directions that I want you to stay away from. Here's one that I found called torn paper. In this case, they've taken some letters and they've used traditional media. They've taken some paper and they've torn out the letters to create each of the letter forms. Of course, this is really creative. It's a great idea and I've seen it used a lot in different designs. However, to get these letter forms, they had to use a pre-existing font, and so they can't do that for this project. Now, if you come up with your own font in your own style, you can certainly tear them out of letters and work it this way. But this is a pre-existing font in order to create this design. This one's called Wettress Liquid, and it's kind of a fun, neat little concept. The downside to this concept is that they used a pre-existing font and they tweaked the design. In this case, they probably used the liquid warp to change out the look of the letters. Also, I'm going to suggest staying away from just simple free-form drawing of the letters. Make this challenging. Give yourself a good idea and be able to run with that concept beyond a simple, quick sketch for each of your letters. In other words, I want you to think hard and think long about how you really want this type to be displayed and to be used. And for me, this is a little bit too simple for graduate level style of work. Let me give you some good directions and what I like about each one of these. So this is the custom Bulga font. In this case, they chose to use this simple shape and somehow fit it within each of the characters' designs. And they did it for all of the different letters. In this case, just the uppercase and just the numbers. By doing this, they've focused in and they've constrained themselves to be able to work only with straight lines and curved lines, thin lines, and somehow incorporate this little curved shape within each one of those. That's a great use of creating their font and dedicating it to just one specific style. Here's another one. I'm not even going to try to display it. Chameleon Disque display font. Hope I didn't mess that up. It's a little bit difficult to read, but that's actually okay. They chose to base their unique style of this font on the unique style of these kinds of couches and chairs and how they bulge out and they're kind of pillowy and unique looking. So all of the display letters have this bulging and pillowy style to their design as well. And so each of the letters fits nicely within that style of font. This one's Checkmate. Obviously they're using different parts or different photographs of chess pieces, and they've arranged those out to form their letters. I'm completely okay with this. Taking those, arranging them, photographing them, making sure that they're all in the correct scale, however, and also that they work and fit very well once they're laid out for all of the different ones. You're certainly welcome to do something like this. Here's one called CMYK. In this case, they've used a variety of different printing symbols and used those symbols within each of the different letter forms. Each of these letter forms is then blocked out and kept nice and uniform in their sizing. Another great way you can keep everything uniform in the sizing and the layout is by using a grid. In this case, you can see they're using a triangular or a hexagonal grid to fill in and create all of these different characters. A lot of fonts use these kinds of grids to set up for each of their designs. In this case, you can see again, triangular one, and they're filling in just the bare necessity for each font. And that's how they're able to work out each of the characters for this design. This one's called Ditch. In this case, they're using a consistent line style and overlapping the lines within their design. It doesn't have to be overly complex, but in this case it gives a nice calligraphic look and feel. And the challenge was, where do they place the line and how does the line flow through each of their fonts. Here's Experimental BM1. In this case, it's got the consistent look and feel of the curves and the lines on the outside of it. In this case, they probably started off with one particular shape, and then they built on other shapes around it. Here's another one that also uses a grid system. In this case, it's a larger grid, and all of the fonts are built inside of this larger area, using only straight and angled lines. Another one that uses a grid. This one was great in that they photographed different reeds, and they bent the reeds into the font shape that they had. And from here they were able to build out all of the different character set. This is totally doable for this particular font as well. Here's a simple block letter one. These are very, very popular, and you can find a lot of examples of these online. Do pay attention that you don't fully copy these styles. I want you to come up with your own design if you were to use these kind of block and simple letters. And finally, here's Tanga. Again, Tanga uses some of the same shapes over and over again, and how to incorporate those shapes within their final letter form of their body. So those are some of the directions that you can go for the design of your typeface. So to begin with, by the end of this week, at least give me an idea of what you want your typeface to look like and how you want to build out and construct each of the different letter forms. By the end of next week, once we come back from spring break, then I want you to be able to give me an idea of what each of your letters should look like, either capital or lowercase a through Z. And then we should finish up the following week by completing your entire set of numbers and letters together as well. Do keep in mind that we're going to be working through this even through multiple different units. So when you submit your work and also need to turn in stuff to the forum, it'll always be found under this first week link. So in this case, always go back to week number 1 or unit number 1 to submit your work and also to turn in anything to the type forum. All right, so this will get us started for this week. If you have any problems or questions, please don't hesitate to contact me at any time. I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys come up with.